Noah Seichmann is a Fulbright scholar and PhD candidate in sociology at the University of California, Santa Barbara, specializing in utopia, regenerative agriculture, ecological restoration, and multispecies societies. She earned both her bachelor's and master's degrees in social sciences and political sociology from the Federal University of Santa Catarina, UFSC, with an academic exchange in educational sciences at Vrije University in Belgium. Her doctoral research is an ethnographic study with the Terra Vista community, a landless workers' movement, MST, settlement in Bahia, Brazil, examining how relationships of kinship and reciprocity between people and forests can be re-established through agroecological and agroforestry practices rooted in ancestral knowledge. At UCSB, she coordinates the Environmental Justice/Climate Justice Cluster at the Orfalea Center and co-organizes the Isla Vista Food Forest, integrating activism, community food systems, and environmental scholarship. She also co-directed the documentary Terra Vista with Pedro Stropa-Solas, which depicts the MST community's journey toward agroecological cocoa production and ecological restoration, reflecting her broader commitment to human-nature reconnection and environmental justice in both academic and public engagement contexts. Jacques Mick is a Brazilian sociologist and journalist who serves as a professor in the graduate programs in journalism and in sociology and political science at the Federal University of Santa Catarina, UFSC, where he is affiliated with the Department of Sociology and Political Science. He holds a bachelor's degree in social communication journalism from UFSC, a master's and doctorate in political sociology from the same institution, and completed postdoctoral research at the University of Lisbon between 2014 and 2015. He is currently UFSC's Vice-Rector for Research and Innovation and coordinates the Laboratory of Sociology of Work, LASTRO, one of Brazil's key research centers on labor and professional sociology. Mick led the 2021 national survey Perfil dos Jornalistas Brasileiros, Profile of Brazilian Journalists, which gathered data from over 7,000 respondents across all Brazilian states, providing an unprecedented empirical overview of the profession. His research examines the sociology of work, professional practices, and journalism studies, with current investigations into role performance and biographical risks in increasingly flexible labor markets. He has been a visiting professor at Sciences Po Grenoble, and is recognized for his contributions to understanding the intersections of media, labor, and contemporary social transformations in Brazil. The paper Para escapar a extinção, experiências de conexão humano-natureza encontros rainbow, to escape extinction, experiences of human-nature connection in rainbow gatherings, explores how humanity can reconnect with nature to face today's environmental crisis. It examines rainbow gatherings, temporary, non-commercial communities where people live together in natural settings for a lunar month, sharing food, work, and knowledge without hierarchy or technology. The authors argue that overcoming the global ecological collapse requires more than scientific solutions or policies. It demands a transformation in how humans see themselves in relation to the Earth. Using the four elements, earth, water, air, and fire, as symbols of physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual connection, the paper suggests that by living in harmony with nature, people can rediscover a balanced, loving, and sustainable way of being human. In the introduction, The Human Crisis, the authors argue that humanity faces not just a metaphorical but a literal threat of extinction due to the global ecological collapse caused by modern civilization. They begin with Michel Foucault's image of the human face drawn in the sand, suggesting that our species may disappear entirely if we continue living as we do. Modern thinking, they say, has separated humans from nature by valuing rationality, control, and industrial progress above all else. This modern reason, born from the Enlightenment, treats humans as superior and nature as something to dominate, which has led to both environmental destruction and spiritual emptiness. The authors insist that rational, scientific approaches alone cannot solve this crisis. Humanity must transform its world-view, rediscovering ways of knowing and living that reunite people with the natural world. The need for new ways of living argues that humanity must develop entirely new ways of experiencing and understanding life to prevent ecological and social collapse. They suggest that modern society's obsession with control, consumption, and separation from nature has reached its limit, and that survival now depends on re-establishing harmony between humans and the earth. To explore this possibility, they turn to the rainbow gatherings, where people intentionally live in community with nature, without money, hierarchy, or modern technology, as a living experiment in alternative ways of being. These gatherings serve as examples of how humans can reconnect with the planet, each other, and themselves through cooperation, simplicity, and respect for all forms of life, offering a glimpse of how a postmodern, ecologically balanced humanity might live. The Rainbow Gatherings, a case study, describes the rainbow family as a global, nomadic community that organizes temporary gatherings in natural environments to live in peace and harmony with the Earth. These events, lasting for one lunar cycle, operate without money, hierarchy, or formal leadership. Everything is shared and decided collectively through consensus. Participants prepare communal meals, collect water and firewood, and engage in workshops, meditation, and music, guided by principles like non-violence, ecological respect, and spiritual unity. The gatherings mix influences from indigenous, hippie, anarchist, and New Age traditions, symbolizing an alternative way of living that challenges consumerism and social inequality. The authors present them as living laboratories for reimagining human society, demonstrating how cooperation, simplicity, and connection to nature can replace competition, control, and detachment. In research methodology, the authors explain that their study was based on fieldwork conducted at 6 rainbow gatherings held in 5 countries: Brazil, Italy, on the border with Slovenia, Austria, France, and Israel, between 2016 and 2018. They used a qualitative approach called social cartography, inspired by philosophers Deleuze and Guattari, which focuses on mapping lived experiences rather than applying rigid scientific methods. The researcher actively participated in the gatherings, engaging in daily life, conversations, and rituals to understand the community from within. Observations were recorded through a personal diary, spontaneous interviews, and a collective diary where participants wrote their reflections. This participatory, immersive method treated the researcher's own experience and emotions as part of the data, reflecting the study's belief that knowledge should emerge from direct, relational engagement with life, rather than detached observation. In analysis, the 4 elements as lenses, the authors interpret life at the rainbow gatherings through the symbolic framework of the 4 natural elements: earth, water, air, and fire, to show how participants seek unity between humans and nature. Earth represents the body and material existence, expressed in simple living, vegan food, composting, and sleeping close to the ground, emphasizing respect for the planet. Air symbolizes thought and communication, seen in non-hierarchical talking circles that promote listening, dialogue, and consensus rather than argument. Water reflects emotions and relationships, as love, empathy, and trust guide interactions and decisions, replacing competition with cooperation. Fire embodies spirit and creativity, manifesting in music, art, rituals, and the communal fire at the heart of each gathering. Together, these elements illustrate how rainbow participants dissolve the boundaries between body and earth, mind and air, feeling and water, spirit and fire, reuniting all aspects of human life with the living cycles of nature. Earth, the body and material connection, describes how rainbow gathering participants reconnect physically and spiritually with the planet by grounding their daily lives in direct contact with the earth. Living outdoors, they abandon cities and industrial comfort to camp on natural land, cook collectively with simple tools, eat vegan food, and use only natural, biodegradable products. These practices emphasize the idea that the human body and the earth are extensions of one another. Caring for one is caring for both. Activities like composting, recycling, and avoiding chemical products reflect a commitment to restoring the natural cycle of life. The earth element symbolizes stability, nourishment, and presence, encouraging participants to rediscover a sense of belonging to the planet rather than dominating it. Through this physical and sensory immersion, the gatherings transform the relationship between humans and nature from one of control to one of coexistence. Air, thought, and communication. explores how rainbow gathering participants cultivate new, more mindful ways of thinking and communicating, modeled after the natural qualities of air, movement, openness, and connection. Without phones or digital media, communication happens face-to-face and flows organically, often through music, song, and shared silence. The central practice is the talking circle, where people pass a talking stick and speak one at a time while others listen in silence, emphasizing empathy and collective understanding rather than debate. Decisions are made through consensus, seen not as majority rule but as a process of tuning into the group's shared sense, like air harmonizing molecules. Many languages and cultural traditions mix freely, showing that communication can transcend words. In this way, air symbolizes mental clarity, listening, and unity, transforming communication from argument and power into connection and mutual respect between people and the world around them. Water, emotion and relationships, shows how the rainbow gatherings value emotional flow, empathy, and love as the foundation of community life, mirroring the fluid and nurturing nature of water. Relationships among participants are based on openness, care, and trust rather than competition or control. Love is seen as a universal force, an ecological practice that sustains life and connects all beings, not just a personal feeling between individuals. Emotions guide decisions as much as reason, expressed through the phrase "to feel to," meaning acting from genuine feeling rather than obligation. This emotional awareness creates harmony within the group, helping conflicts dissolve naturally, like water adapting to the shapes it encounters. The authors argue that this emotional fluidity restores balance between humans and nature by encouraging a way of living guided by compassion, sensitivity, and respect for the interconnectedness of all life. Fire, spirit and creativity, describes how the rainbow gatherings use fire as both a physical and symbolic center of communal life, representing spiritual energy, creativity, and transformation. The campfire is the heart of the gathering, a place for music, storytelling, dance, and rituals that express unity between humans and nature. Around the fire, participants celebrate diverse spiritual traditions, from indigenous and Afro-Brazilian to Hindu and Buddhist, all recognizing nature as sacred and alive. This element embodies passion, inspiration, and the creative spark that fuels both art and spiritual connection. The authors suggest that through these shared rituals and creative expressions, participants experience a sense of belonging to something larger than themselves, an understanding of divinity not as a distant concept, but as the living energy of the earth itself. Fire thus symbolizes the light of consciousness and the warmth of community, reigniting the bond between spirit, creativity, and the natural world. In discussion, towards a new human identity, the authors argue that humanity must redefine what it means to be human in order to survive ecological collapse. The modern worldview, which places humans above and apart from nature, has led to destruction and disconnection. The rainbow gatherings offer a glimpse of an alternative, where humans see themselves as part of a living, intelligent web of life. In this new understanding, nature is not a resource but a realm of active, conscious beings, and knowledge comes as much from intuition, emotion, and spirituality as from reason. The authors call for a new subjectivity that blends rationality with sensitivity, intellect with feeling, and individuality with belonging. This reimagined human identity dissolves the boundaries between humans and the natural world, recognizing that true wisdom and survival depend on cooperation, empathy, and participation in the broader life of the planet. In conclusion, Escaping Extinction, Sykman and Mick argue that humanity cannot avoid collapse through technology, data, or environmental policies alone. True survival requires a radical transformation in how we perceive and live within the world. They call for a shift from a politics of development, which separates humans from nature, to a politics of involvement, which reweaves humans into the web of life. Escaping extinction means expanding our sense of identity beyond the human, recognizing intelligence and purpose in all living beings, and learning from them with humility. The paper suggests that the modern idea of the autonomous, dominant human must dissolve, giving way to a more integrated being, one that sees love, respect, and coexistence as essential ecological forces. Ultimately, The authors propose that love itself is an ecological practice, the key to restoring balance between humanity and the earth.